Hello and welcome to episode 81 of the Town Social. After we last gathered, 2 games have passed, haven't they? And after a gut-wrenching performance down at Charlton, a response was definitely needed. Worthy said we got a decent reaction down at Lincoln on Tuesday night, when in truth the performance was about as enjoyable as having to wash Bonnie Blue's bed sheets and as exciting as an afternoon show on BBC Radio 4. Town ran out 1-0 losers against a middling team with absolutely nothing to play for, not registering one single shot on target. So this made the game on Saturday all the more important as the players trudged out onto the pitch to an official crowd of over 19,000. The protest banner was out in force, urging Kevin Nagle to remember his words 2 years ago that we wouldn't raise prices without increasing value on the pitch. All the more reason then for the players to respond. Well, in reality, the first half was dreadful, and without Will Evans having one of the misses of the season, Town should have been behind. Even a broken clock's right twice a day, though, and it looks like Mark Cartwright might have finally pulled off a half-decent signing in Ruben Ruskin, who slotted calmly past him to give Town the lead in the second half. The second, well, there's only one reason that Killer's joined us tonight, isn't there? Because his favourite player, Ben Wiles, finally showed up, didn't he? The midfielder having his one good game in 10 after assisting for the first goal and finishing off a delightful pass from Ruskin to make it 2-0. In true Warp Town fan fashion, we cheered on an opponent striker in Jordan Rote and then booed our own striker on in Dion Charles after he returned from his bargain break at Blackpool last week. Town hadn't kept a clean sheet for 8 games, so we thought we'd continue the trend, didn't we? Ignoring the run from their player at the far post to concede late on. But ultimately, we managed to hang on to clinch victory. But is it enough to convince you that Worthy and the players have what it takes to get this team back in the playoffs? We've got a lot to talk about tonight, guys, including the released Town accounts and a look ahead to Wickham tomorrow night. Joining me, as always, my esteemed guests, Mr. Ian Kilroy, Andy Kay and Gaz Kay. Welcome, everyone, tonight. Please get your comments and your questions in. It's great to have you on, as always. Guys, let's very, very quickly talk about this Lincoln game, because that's been and gone, hasn't it? But I have one word written down here, and that was shite. Absolutely nothing happened from our point of view. It was pretty disgraceful performance, wasn't it?
It was shocking, wasn't it? I mean, I still can't get over the fact, as you say, in the post-match and in his pre-match for Mansfield, where they seemed to think that was a decent showing. But I guess if you compare it to Charlton, it probably was. You know, not such a pumping at Charlton. You'd hope it was never be that bad. But I mean, Lincoln were the team with the epitome of nothing to play for, aren't they? They're not getting in the playoffs. They're no danger of getting relegated. Their blokes were already thinking about the summer holidays. But they actually looked the sharper. I thought when they came forward, they looked more likely to create something. I think our attacks, some of our attacks were Taylor waving his arms around everybody else. That was about as near as we got to scoring a goal. I did fear the worst when we played 2 central defensive midfielders against Lincoln. You know, a game that we all thought we had to win. And I said after the victory at home against Crawley, really, the 2 away games would tell you whether we were or weren't going to try and get ourselves into the playoffs. And I think that performance at Lincoln probably told you everything you needed to know for me, where it was substandard, I think. I wouldn't say shiny, that's really harsh, but substandard, definitely.
I think if you went to see it, mate, I think if you trailed down there as a fan witnessing that, I think you'd be foaming at the mouth, mate. It was absolutely pathetic in my eyes. We offered absolutely nothing. And, I mean, it's a game against a middling side, half a foot on the beach. And like I said, we just didn't do anything, did we? I thought at some point, we've got to turn it on here. We've got to give it a go. Traditionally, we start first half's awful, grow into it, but it got worse as it went on, and I don't understand it from a mindset of the players that this is a game really to take by the scruff of the neck. And after that performance at Charlton, you were expecting a reaction, and we got absolutely nothing. Peter Liversidge, your Lincoln game was terrible. Andy, how did you see it, mate? Because I don't know, mate. It just made me really sad watching it.
Amateur, I'm supposed to be able to use this chuffing stuff for a job, and I'm talking when I'm muted. I don't know about having half a foot on the beach. They had the full bloody lilo, full worm break, full beach mats, everything. And I mean, I hate to bring up Ben Wiles having done something that wasn't quite as good as it could have been, but let's just say the marking at the back post wasn't the greatest it could possibly have been when that lad who... They did a good blocking thing, didn't they? Because the lad who got the flick on ran round this blocking bit in the middle and then left Balker for dead, and then Wiles got shoved out the way. But it was an insipid goal to characterise an insipid performance by us, and we never looked like getting back into it. So I'm very glad they didn't make the choice to drive from Uttoxeter to Lincoln and then back home again. And I think Gaz made a similar choice from what our internal communication thing was saying. Yeah, awful. But the thing that worried me before the press conference before the game, Matty Pearson was asked what went wrong on Saturday, i.e. Charlton. He didn't know. He genuinely said, we don't know. What hope have we got? What hope if the players don't know what's gone wrong? Where are we going from here? So it was not to be unexpected. Really. I just think they're reeling under the weight of pressure of getting into the playoffs, and until second half on Saturday, I think it was weighing too heavily on them. But yeah, going back to Lincoln, fair dues, awful game, and the slightly better team won.
Terry Jack, good evening to you, mate. Killer's back from his vegan food conference. Well, to give his insight, Ian, what quick summary of your thoughts, mate? Because, like I say, I was just really sad and disheartened after seeing that, and I thought that's our season over right there, mate. But give us some crumb of comfort, mate. Come on, was it as bad as I was thinking, or am I just miserable? Or because to me it looked like a team that didn't give a shit, really.
To be fair, Nick, you're miserable at best of times. If we win or lose, it doesn't make any difference to you, does it? I'm with you, though. I thought it was shite. Guys, I can't believe you're sat here saying it wasn't shite. It was shite. It were awful. And the reason why it was awful was that I think that, obviously, it's Worthy's come back in, gung-ho football, roller coaster, yeah, fantastic, press high. And now, first game against Crawley, fantastic, against shite opposition. Everyone knows that. And now, Charlton, we went down there. We got battered, but to me, I still think that's kind of a game that got away from us. We went very badly wrong from the off, and games like that happen. You can, like Charlton the week before against Peterborough got stuffed, and things happen in football where something happens early doors against a run of play, and the rest of the game's affected because of it, and it doesn't really represent how the season's going to go from then out. It's just one of those moments, and I thought Charlton was that. So against Lincoln, I really expected some sort of bounce, some sort of right. Boys, that was shite. Let's go out and give it a proper good go. And what happened was the opposite. To me, looking at that game, Worthy's gone out and said, let's not lose this game in the first 15 minutes. And we played really defensively. We played in a 4-5-1 to start off with, instead of 4-3-3 high press. Taylor's on his own up top. No one's there supporting him. And we never got out of that zone. It was just shite all the way through that game. And we never once really opened up, apart from just before they scored. The first moment we tried to start playing, I watch the games, and if I'm at home, I normally make notes of what I see as I'm going through the game. And honestly, I've got it up in front of me here now, and I've got 11 notes from the entire game. Not much happened at all. It was just, they were on the beach. We didn't really want to get battered like we got battered against Charlton. So it just ended up being a non-event. They scored a goal from a corner where, yeah, Wiles is at fault. Wiles at fault at the back post. He should have fouled his man. He didn't. He's let him go far too easily. But the problem's actually on Balker at the front post with the flick on marking. He's got him in the middle. He lets him go around a few other players. And by the time he gets back to mark him, it's too late. He's on the flick on. And even if Wiles is marking up properly, I think the ball would have probably gone in the goal anyway before anyone could have got there. It was goal bound as it was for me. That's my excuse anyway for Wilesy for that one. But no, we were poor. But from start to finish, everyone was shocking. It were awful. It was just no shots on target. And in a game where you're losing 1-0 away from home, where you really have to go for it. Of course, now we can look at the table. It's a bit different having our result yesterday and Saturday and everyone else's result. But for the Lincoln game, we ended that night suddenly with Blackpool, Reading, Bolton and Leyton Orient all competing for that final playoff spot. We'd thrown it away in 2 games. And now, yeah, things are a little bit different because of some defeats in the last few days. But at that point, I just expected more from Town. I expected Worthy to give him a battering. And to me, guys, looking at Worthy, he looked a little bit lost in that game. He looked very inexperienced. And I think most people after it kind of looked at it and thought, nah, he's not the guy for the job. And that's ridiculous when you consider that, 2 games before we battered Crawley. and everyone thought it was the second coming of Christ. Like that's what people thought after it. But when you watch that Lincoln game, it was just so boring and so dire. And I don't think it's anything anyone expected a worthy team to show. I just thought there's a little bit of an experience managerially shown in that game, as well as players not doing what really I hope they were expected to do, because it was shite.
Shocking, mate. Jed Robinson, morning boys from Bondi. Lucky bastard, Jed.
Good, all right.
Closest I've got, I think, Bondi Beach Club in Leeds. I don't think that's still there now in Leeds, but that's the closest I'll ever get to chuff in Bondi. Up with the bants today. Give me something, Nick. Anything? I don't know, mate. I mean, I'm sure we could reel out some stuff tonight. Ian, it's thick as pig shit, though. I mean, is that me, mate? I'm sorry, I can't help it. Do you know what I mean?
That's Matty Pearson.
I am as I am, mate. You know, it's
that
what it is.
When I said about Matty Pearson. I think that's Matty Pearson.
Good evening to you, Ian. Peter Livesey says Taylor looked extremely pissed off at Lincoln. I mean, if I were isolated on my own with zero service, I would as well, to be honest. Yeah, it's Terry Jacks asked the question, why are we twatting it out after kick-off for a throw-in? I don't know, mate. I don't know why we insist we're just smashing long balls when I can't remember the last time we actually won one of these long balls. It defies all logic to me. I think we'll move on from Lincoln because there's nothing to say, basically, other than it was dreadful. So, but then the pressure was obviously on, lads, wasn't it, on Saturday to come out and put a bit of a show on at home. We did well against Crawley, although some would say Crawley were poor. But Mansfield, the 17th in the league, their form was really poor. They'd only won 2 in the last 17 games this side. Only won 1 in the last 8 on the road, I think, coming into this. So there was pressure. And again, you know, the first half, lads, I don't know what you think to this, Ian, but to me, the first half was really flat from us. I thought Mansfield, I mean, the bloke misses a sitter, doesn't he? It's a great shot off the post. And how the guy does not put that away, I absolutely do not know. But that should be 1-0 all day long, shouldn't it? And they should go in at half-time 1-0 up.
They should do, Nick. But again, there were no press from us. We're going to get into some issues, I think, a few of us are seeing with the way Joe Taylor's playing at the moment. Gaz said, I think it was you guys, I don't think it was Jimmy himself, but mentioned that Joe Taylor runs to press like when a substitute's coming off and you're winning 1-0 and you put your head down and you kind of just jog off looking like you're running, but you're not actually running. And Joe Taylor's pressing that first half was like that. And it just epitomised, I think, the effort everyone else kind of put in. There was nothing from anyone. Everyone looked a little bit, like you say, a bit similar to what it was like against Lincoln. They were a little bit better because Mansfield offered even less than Lincoln did in most of the game. But it were really poor again. There were no options in midfield. So Pearson and Bolker were picking the ball up again. And we were trying to not go straight down the middle. But then no one showed. We were having a talk about it as well in the game, guys, where Kasumu and Hodge offered very little. They ran to the ball and then just kind of, there was a man in the passing lane and they didn't move laterally to try and open it up to create these little triangles, which is what we did do in the second half, ultimately, and did do well from. But in that first half, there was no movement whatsoever. It felt very much like, it was like that Simpsons meme where both teams need a draw and they're just passing around back and forward. You're like Barnsley at home again. It just felt a bit like that. There was no urgency. People were bored. Everyone were kind of down for a beer at 30 minutes in, having talking to a few people after the game. Loads of people left around 55, 60 minutes because they were bored shitless from what were going on in the game, although I thought second half was a lot better. It was just another game where I expected a reaction straight off the bat. And now the only reaction we got was a chopping of Josh Karoma. He's disappeared out of the team. And there were a few, I expected Ruskin and Sorensen to start right and left back, but obviously with Karoma out, Ruffles kept his place. I actually thought did okay with Akins. Akins is a bit of a troublemaker when it comes to throwing his weight about on that as a wing back or as a wide striker, depending on what's going on. And I thought Ruffles handled that pretty well. But it just felt like an end of season game where neither team had anything to play for again, which is ridiculous because we should be chasing down these playoffs. And in that first 45 minutes, I didn't see very much, Nick. Didn't see very much at all.
Gaz, really disappointing first half. And again, come out second half, but Mansfield miss again, don't they? They have a deflected shot. I think it's Matthew Craig, and it's deflected off Sorensen. Again, that could be 2-0, mate, quite easily. early in that second half. We rode our luck big time, I think, in this game, didn't we?
Well, the game was poor quality. Even though it improved a bit in the second half, it was a poor quality game front to back. There was only 3 shots on target all game, and all 3 resulted in a goal. So, that tells you about the quality of the match, doesn't it? And I mean that miss, that as Killer says, that I was fuming about the miss because Bowery might as well have written a letter that he was going to come inside on his right foot. I mean, we didn't even try and jockey him. We just watched him running. So I was really impressed with him. Ironically, he was the one that makes the mistake for Sorensen to get in for the first goal, Bowery. But I thought he was in handful all game. And to be honest, Connor said, I didn't see it, but Connor says on the replay on the TV, Nichols gets fingers to it to tip it onto the post, in which case it's an unbelievable save because he would have gone in. And that miss, I mean, apart from the bloke from Middlesbrough who somehow shot backwards from 1 yard, I still can't get over that. Somehow shot backwards from 1 yard on the line. It's probably one of the worst misses that stadium's ever seen. And they should have been, and I think a 1-0 to them, the crowd would have started to turn. And the crowd were already getting antsy, weren't they? I think the crowd would have turned and Mansfield would have been buoyed by that. And they'd obviously, as I would expect with Nigel Clough, they'd done their own work. They pushed all 3 strikers high against our back 4, so our full-backs couldn't get out at all. Because they knew that's where the danger lay, really, especially with Ruskin playing on the left and having to drop in. So there was let's be honest, until we made the changes on the hour, the game was absolutely drifting to 0-0. So maybe you have to give Worthington some credit that he made the changes, and the changes actually had a massive impact. Because Joe Taylor, I mean, people are telling me that Joe Taylor's the next best thing since sliced bread, but other than that finish at Blackpool, he's done fuck all, and he absolutely affected the game 0. Absolutely 0. And whilst he was pressing on his own and had 2 centre halves to press, if you get organised and you press quickly, as they did in a couple of occasions actually in the second half, it's effective. But his effort was he just looked like a bloke who's pissed off because he isn't getting 6-yard tap-ins. But that's not where we are as a team at the minute. We need him to give us a bit more than that.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I don't think Taylor plays well on his own. I think he needs somebody with him. And I just don't think he fits in with the style that we're trying to play. Andy, what do you think on it, mate? Because I've seen parts of his game where he makes some good runs into channels and he shows some decent strength. And he's obviously got decent finishing instincts there. But it's not working out quite as we'd hoped at the moment, is it? Do you think part of it's he's trying to come back from injury, or it's the system, or what do you think's going wrong at the moment for Taylor?
I'd agree with everything that's been said so far. I think the service that he got and has been getting over the time that he's been in the team has been not great. We're trying to, but like Terry Jackson for the attempted flicking short passes, but nothing works for him. If he does get the flick on, there's nobody there anyway. A couple of times when he got the ball into his chest and he could look to play it off, he miscontrolled it. I think he's just snatching at it because he sees the ball so infrequently. He's got to do something with it. It feels like he's got to make an impact because he knows he probably won't see the ball again for the next 10 minutes. So he's putting himself under pressure, I think. In terms of graft, yeah, I think that you could see that what little pressing he was doing was a waste of time, bless him, because he's one man on his own. No matter how hard he runs, he can't mark 3 men. So I think you could see we dropped into 4-2-3-1 off the ball. That's a little bit of tactical stuff that I picked up. But I'm not sure I agree about Ruffles in the physical side of things. Yeah, but I thought he was Mansfield's best player at first start. He couldn't control the ball. He couldn't pass it to another man. I mean, Chiré were running close for having an ineffective game. But again, you just worry that. Are they letting the pressure? Yeah, they're running into play about 5 times in a row. Are they letting the pressure of the situation? Is it building up? And are they just not able to cope with it? I think that's the concern for me, and always has been. Have they got the mentality to be able to deal with the pressure that they're under? If it felt like they forgot about the pressure second half, maybe with the changes, and we started playing to a formation that worked for the players on the pitch. But yeah.
No, the thing that's on that, Andy, with the pressure, I think is a different. They don't like they can't be asked. It's not like pressure where they're getting too nervy to me and they're going out like, I want to perform so well. I really want to go at it today. And they're snatching at chances. That's not what Joe Taylor looks like when you see him run. That's just not what I see. I see a bunch of players throughout that team in moments where they can't be asked because they think it's already gone. I don't think they have the belief. I don't think it's the pressure that's too much. I think the self-belief isn't there. I feel that they look rudderless at times. And now they do get the shit together every now and again. They are professional footballers. It will happen. But things have to go right for us. Like Will Evans missing that easy chance will go down as an all-timer. That can help pick you up. But we're so fragile as a team still that we need these moments before we can really crack on. And if it doesn't happen, and if it goes in, we fall apart like we do against Charlton. And again, this is why we won't succeed in the playoffs. I don't care if we make it or not. This team cannot succeed in the playoffs because that mentality gets no team anywhere in a cutthroat business. At that end of the season, it doesn't. They're the teams that get there and choke pretty early doors. And that's how we look for me. It's just that the effort isn't there. And it's not that they're not running. They're probably doing the miles. Well, how many times have we had somebody sat in a press conference saying, they've run more miles than they've ever run? You don't need to tell me what the stats say. I can look at it and I can see that they're running in pointless ways, not in the right ways, not with the right intensity, the right moments. And that's what it feels like now. And it didn't feel like that. Just a few, even under Duff, for most of the time, it didn't feel like that. The first half, the real issue we had in that first 60 minutes, and I forgot about this on my previous dialogue or diatribe about it, was that we had a spare centre-back most of the time. We went back to having a spare centre-back, and it was normally Bolker. And what that meant is when you pressed, Mansfield had an extra centre-back as well, so they could just pass it between themselves. Wild stepped up to chase him down. Taylor didn't readjust, and Kasumu or Hodge didn't come with the extra guy that Wiles had left to go to the centre-back. So Mansfield always had an out ball, and now we changed out at 60 minutes. And maybe if we'd have done that earlier, Taylor would have been better. Maybe he wouldn't have been as kind of frothy with being upset that nobody was helping him press. And maybe that would have changed it while he was on. And I think that was probably the tactical change helped more than the personnel change, although Mikel Miller, it's a good job he's back. And he's probably the saving grace of this game on Saturday. But it wasn't until we shifted that kind of emphasis in that, right, actually, let's go man for man here. Let's go at him again, like Worthy did against Crawley, that it really turned the game in our favour. But we were looking at Will Evans. Well, he's bound to be shy, innit? Because we were linked with him 2 years ago. So we wanted him. So we're obviously going to be awful at scoring chances, innit? Because if we wouldn't have been interested in the first place. But no, we were fortunate. Everything that didn't happen against Charlton did against Mansfield, in that they scored every chance they had, Charlton. Mansfield had a couple of easy ones, and they missed both of them. And then we took advantage, which was quite a change for us.
I thought Marshall and Charles affected it as well, though, Killer. I thought the lack of energy that was shown with Chirua and with Taylor, it was 9 there when Marshall and Charles came on. I thought they ran around to good effect, and Marshall did what he did, and he started to come inside and pull the full back with him, which suddenly meant Sorensen had for the first time in the game, had a bit of space. Marshall was causing the problems, and then all of a sudden, Longback seemed confident to come inside and make the room for Miller on the outside. So actually, the shape, the 4-2-3-1, started to work because we got a little bit of energy up front. And I think Dion Charles, he got some stick when he came on. I'm not entirely sure I understand why, but he did get quite a bit. So there was quite a bit of booing. Ironically, more booing for him than for a bloke who's currently on trial for death by dangerous driving. But I thought they affected the game in the right way. And the first goal, in fact, both goals were really good goals. I thought they were well set up, well taken, well finished, good quality goals. And the first goal was probably the first time we played any football in 70 minutes.
Yeah, it's and I agree with Dan here that the back four are too narrow, and it's not the first time a team's made the pitch wide and exposed our fullback. And I do think Wickham will do the same on Tuesday, and that was a bit of a worry to me, Ian. The thing is, you can compare with Charlton, but the thing is, Charlton are a good side, aren't they? You expect it to be tough going down there against a side in form, flying. People were tipping them could be an outsider for top two. Mansfield's form is poor. They don't perform well away from home. They're 17th in the league, and we're still struggling. We're still struggling at home against that. Now, that's no disrespect to Mansfield, but, with the second highest wage budget in the league here, we've got to be performing better than this against these.
I think we're fragile, though, Nick. I think Worthy knows we're fragile, though. I think his first 60 minutes is gone, well, we're not going to press as we usually do, because if we concede one, we're fucked, and we can't get back into the game. And I think that's why, Nick, it was like that for the first 6 minutes. You're right, it shouldn't be like this. It's embarrassing that it is. And we can question why it's like that later on when we talk about banners and whatnot and what supposedly happened. But the reality is we're fragile as a team. And I think he's terrified that if we go toe-to-toe with people, we don't come out on top. Because if anything goes against us, we're in the shit. So what we have to do now is we have a nice little before the game, which I'm a massive fan of, I must say. But that just shows you're trying to build camaraderie, trying to build teamwork, and feel like that you're a part of something, because we're not hard. We're pretty weak. We're pretty weak. We're not tough.
At Mansfield, more than matched us, Kelly. Had 50% possession, so we had 50-50.
Yeah, but I don't think it's weird though. It's
they had more shots than us. They had more shots, and you know, Will Evans missed another header just after we scored our first, and then Rhodes missed an absolute amount. It must have been just behind him. Rhodes almost in the same spot as Evans had a chance just before we scored our second. I mean, if it had been 2-2, we could not have complained.
Well, Worthy said pretty much what you just said, Killer, in the press conference today. Almost like he looks at it from a, not that we don't want to concede first 45, but he talks about changing the game in the final third. So I think you're absolutely right. He's worried that, you know, the minute that we go 1-0 down, it's like Neil Wayne from when he takes that challenge used to say, one and done. We just don't seem capable of coming back from it. You can see the life draining out of them, the body language changes, and they start to not want the ball. And when they do get the ball, they're putting themselves mentally under pressure because they've got to make something happen because of a 1-0 down. And if they've got a strategy for dealing with it with adversity, it's not apparent. They can only perform well when things are going for them. When there's adversity, that team are fragile, and that's not a good place to be for professional footballers, mentality-wise.
Terrier Jackson has heard something about a player's been late to training. I've not heard anything unless you have, guys, but I mean, who knows? I don't get it. I don't get why these players are so mentally fragile, because, you know, a lot of these players are different players from what we've had over the years, but it's always the same problem over the last few years, that we just completely crumble as soon as anything goes against us. Why? Why do we do it and not other sides? You look at a side like Reading, everything wrong is going off the pitch that could go wrong, and they're still battling. They're still putting a shift in. They're still up there. So why can't we? I just do not get it. I do not get this mentality of shrinking into ourselves every time something goes wrong. It's pathetic to me. I do not get it. And until that changes, we're going nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. But anyway, look, let's talk about the goals, because it is a bit of decent football. You know, the first goal, Sorensen does really well down the right, and the ball goes to Wiles, and instead of shooting, he does the right thing. He lays it off to Ruskin, and it's a really calm finish from Ruskin. He seems very calm, doesn't he, when he gets these chances in the box? He's very, very good from what's supposed to be a left back or left wing back. And I just thought I've got to give Wiles a bit of credit here, Ian, as well. I think it's because the temptation to shoot was obviously there, and a lot of players would have done. But it's a nice little layoff, isn't it? And a good finish from Ruskin.
It's a cracking goal. Honestly, every part of it's really, really good. What Sorensen does down the right-hand side, and a little touch past Bowery, doesn't he? Guys, you'll love a fullback in a number 9 shirt, don't you, guys? You talked about that.
Love it.
Honestly, you speak more about that than me about Wiles. So, I don't like a defender in a 9 shirt. Anyway, put it round him. It's
a discussion for another day. Yeah.
He's all right. But no, before that, what was really nice is Kasuma won the ball back in the middle. And if you actually, and Marshall, I think we were Marshall on at that point. I can't remember who it is. I think it's Marshall at that point. Couple of nice little triangles in the midfield. First time in the game, there were a nice little triangle, plays in Sorensen. He's got a 1-on-1 then, because you've played a nice little triangle. And now when you play triangles in midfield, what happens is the other team over adjusts to that side of the field. So all of a sudden, Mansfield shift across because you're getting a few passes, and Sorensen on a 1-on-1. No team likes anybody having a 1-on-1 if you're struggling at the bottom of the division. So what Mansfield do then is send somebody else to stop that 1-on-1 with Bowery. Sorensen gets past Bowery, no problem. By the time the second guys come over, that's left an overload in the middle, and Ruskin's already free on the back post. The ball's come in. Wiles, he bodies Aikens, he pushes him off, and then steps back a couple of yards, which is honestly, for a guy that's much more than Aikens, genius. It really is. And then he's touched it once and played it straight into Ruskin. He knew what he was doing before the ball came into him. He knew what was going to happen before the cross has left Sorensen's foot. That he did. And it's a fantastic pass, and the finish is even better. Ruskin, he knows, he's aware of his surroundings. He knows nobody's there. And he can just set himself and smash it in to the bottom corner to put us 1-0 up. It was, honestly, from winning the ball back from a long ball from Mansfield to scoring, it was a beautiful piece of football. It really was. It was a really nice bit of football. And yeah, it's not going to be on all the highlight packages, But if you look at the individual moments within it, everyone did what they should be doing. And to me, it's not overly complicated. It's just football how it should be played. Nice little tight passing to open up some space against a team defending narrow. Because I don't know who mentioned earlier on that we defended narrow. Mansfield did as well. Most teams do. If you don't back your defence, you normally defend pretty narrow, because if somebody makes a mistake, you've got more bodies there to kind of cover up. So you have got a bit of width. But the nice little tiny passing, it drags teams out and stops them defending like that. And as soon as that happened, we've got 2 men at the back against one Mansfield guy, and we capitalised. And honestly, under Michael Duff, we didn't see that for months. Honestly, for months, we didn't see any kind of play like that. It's a design play in some aspects, and they've been working on that at training, and it paid off. And it was really, really good to see.
It was so not in keeping with the quality of the game as well, wasn't it? It was, it was a really nice move. But yeah, go on, Andy.
I just think he scored from a similar spot in the Crawley game, didn't he? Am I right in thinking that it just seems to be putting the ball back across? Yeah. So you're right. It's a planned move. It's when the ball's there, you need to be there type of thing. So fair play to them. They've pulled off something under pressure. You could argue there that they hadn't looked like doing.
Yeah, Andy, you're right. Was it Evans? I think Evans might have played him in against Crawley in a similar way.
Yeah, so Evans was in the Wales position. So yeah, fair play. Got to give them credit when they actually do something that professional footballers are supposed to do. So well done.
And then we have the second goal, don't we? Where Wiles makes a really good run to the far post, but I mean the Mansfield guys, no one really picks him up. They're all ball watching, and Ruskin plays a really good ball across to Wiles, and it's a nice, calm, composed finish. It's a simple finish, really, but that ball from Ruskin was brilliant, wasn't it? I'm not sure if it took a slight deflection going through, but that don't matter really. To me, it's a brilliant bit of play again, and nice little composed finish from Wiles, guys.
Yeah, well, Miller made the space with an overlap, which meant Ruskin had one man. He came back inside, and it was Wiles that started the move off by winning the ball and playing it out, and then he continued his run. But if you watch the video, you'll be fuming if you're Nigel Clough, because number 24, I think, goes with him, and then suddenly decides for some bizarre reason he's going to go to the front post. So Ben Wiles just keeps running in a straight line, and this bloke decides he's going to run off in a different direction. But it was another smart first time finish. And, just the keeper never got set. He was never going to save it because he couldn't set himself. As the ball came across, Wiles had already hit it before he'd seen that Wiles was on it. So it was, and they were probably just about deserved to be 2-0 up at that point. They were the only two bits of quality in the entire game up to that point. But it just goes to show, in and around the box, with a bit of decent movement, we can cause teams problems. The issue you have is we don't see enough of that movement, do we? Most of our crosses, although we've all got all this, with most chances created and all that sort of stuff, most of it's been created by edge of the box, long shots, crosses in at head height. That's the way to play football in through a box. When you haven't got, as we keep saying, we haven't got a 6'5" striker, have we? So you've got to play smart, you've got to play cute. And it was the movement from Miller was brilliant because it made the space for Ruskin to be able to come inside.
That's it. You need somebody to have that threat, though, that direct threat that Miller brings. His pace shut Mansfield up, and they adjusted everything because of it. The second goal's fantastic. It's a long ball from Mansfield initially. Keeper pings it out. Our centre-back heads it forward. And Wiles challenges for the first ball and misses it. But he does enough to stop the ball going forward. And I don't know if it's Charles or Marshall at that point who heads it back to him. I think it might be Charles. He heads it back to Wiles, plays Ruskin in, and then Wiles bezzes it in again. Honestly, the first goal to me is the better goal because to me it's a nice bit of triangular football that we don't do enough of, and we should do for that reason. The second goal is just a really good play by Wiles and Ruskin. It's nice to see that little connection in it. We're finally getting a couple of players that can play football together really well, and they just understand each other's games. Because Ruskin just looked up. So Wiles initially wasn't trying to get into the box. He's played the ball into Ruskin because there's another 2 or 3 time players in front of him, and he's waited. He's kind of jogged forward a little bit, watched, but as Ruskin's turned back, Wiles has realised there's a massive gap there. He's run into it. Ruskin has noticed it. They knew exactly what was happening as soon as Wiles has set off, and it's a great finish. It's calm. Will Evans couldn't do it for the other. They couldn't do it for Mansfield in the first half when it came to him. But it was a tougher finish, I think, than Ruskin's in the first goal because you've got more time and it's down the middle. You're worried if you put it anywhere else. Pim's normally a good goalkeeper, apart from when he punched it onto the bar in the first half for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Was that the corner where Wiles put it in the D and the ref?
Yeah, that was the inspected when he got his tape measure out.
Always drives me nuts. It just drives me nuts when they do that. Because also, who cares if it's out by half a centimetre? Does it actually matter? It's going to make zero difference with how crap we are at corners without Hellick anyway. So, no, that second goal was a really, really good finish and deserved at that point. I thought we were worthy of a 2-goal win because the substitutions really changed it for us. And the change in press, I thought we were so much better. It's just nice to see a partnership forming between Ruskin and Wiles. Our problem is up until now, whenever these kind of little tiny partnerships have begun to flourish, the one's got injured. And we just need to hope that doesn't happen again now.
Terry, Jack, just hang fire on that, mate. We'll talk about that later, the cowsheds chanting. But it's typical Town. We can't just see out a nice, comfortable 2-0 win, can we? We've always got to concede a goal late on just to jangle the nerves a little bit. And it's a good delivery in, I think it's from Lewis, to the back post. Now, the only place I've seen this, I think, I'll listen to a bit to take that chance. I think Matt mentioned this, but to me, 2 of their players are miles offside. They go to the header. One of them goes for the header. He misses the header, and their player puts it in at the back post. But to me, he's interfering with play because he goes to the header. The keeper, Nichols, doesn't know if he's going to connect with that header or not. So he's kind of in 2 minds what's going on. And then their player then heads it in. To me, that's offside. It's an offside. Now, can someone explain to me why that was given as a goal and not an offside? Because I thought at the time it's interfering with play, it's offside, but then I've hardly ever really seen it mentioned anywhere else. So,
he got a few wrong in first half, that line on offsides. He wasn't up with play anyway, so it wasn't a great surprise to me when he gave it. I wasn't screaming for offside at the time. I mean, he comes a long way, that lad, and he's about 5'6". So, whilst I hear what you're saying, we should have defended that way better. All you got to do is step half the yard in front of him and block him off. And he winning header is he's come a long way to win that ball, which is the thing that disappointed me the most, really.
Yeah, I like blaming people for everything. If I can find somebody at fault for every goal, I'll pick them out because it's fucking my favourite thing. He's shit. He's at fault, apart from Wilesley. But when it comes to that free kick, I think the ball in's incredible. I think it's an incredible ball in. Ruffles is the guy marking their lad, I think, at that point. But for Town, when 2 guys are offside in the middle, Town were a little bit more bothered about those guys being offside than trying to defend the free kick. It's just, again, it's an absolute peach of a free kick, and it's a good finish. I don't think there's too much at fault there, personally. I think it's just one of those things where a free kick in that position, when you put a ball in like that, it's really, really hard to defend against. If he's nodded it back to somebody in the box and we've not got anybody on there because they're worried about the offsides, I think I'd be more upset about the 2 lads in the middle, Nick. But for me, I just thought it was a really good bit of play by Mansfield. And that's what happens if you put the ball in the mixer. That's what happens. Although I did really like seeing Clough. He's watched Tamworth Fanny against us and thought, hey, these boys are shite at a long throw. Let's put as many long throws in as we can. I mean, there's no Tommy Tonks and Dan Creaney for them, though. They were missing out on anyone like that, fortunately enough for us. But I thought the goal was well taken. I didn't think we could have done too much to stop it, to be honest.
But I was just saying, and I think actually, although it was a shite goal to away from a defensive point of view, I actually thought after that, this showed a bit of nous. For the first time in a long time, I actually felt like we managed, because they stuck Aidan Flint up top, who's 97 foot tall, all arms and legs in it, and we actually coped okay with him. And at one point, Oggy were playing against him. And actually,
From a corner, there were Johnny Ogg's job was marking Aidan Flint from a corner, and now if we'd have conceded from that, I'd have had a breakdown on this podcast. I'd have had an absolute breakdown if Johnny Ogg's marked Flint when he's nodded in equaliser. I would have been able to handle it.
But I thought in fairness, I thought they showed something for the first time in a long time. We managed the game out. I thought after that, we Flint caused problems, but we did enough little fouls, little niggles here and there, and I thought they managed it out really well.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, lads, a win's a win, isn't it? When you've come off the back of 2 really poor performances away from home, to get that win was so important. And that's what Worthy said in the presser today. Like, it's about wins, it's about results, and that's where we're at.
just for you,
Killer's getting some bants for his dark for his cave. Wasn't it great to see Mikel Miller back though, lads? The bloke, he makes such a difference, doesn't he? his directness, his pace, his bit of trickery. He's a threat, isn't he? And you think, oh, if you could just get him fit for a sustained period, him and Ruskin down that left-hand side, that's potential to be a really good partnership and really dangerous for us towards the running. Do you think the problem is though, guys? Is he going to stay fit? Is he out fit? Is he? He came on with what, like 30 minutes to go. Do you think we're going to be able to see that? Do you think we can get a sustained run of him and Ruskin together? Because that's probably going to be our biggest threat, isn't it? Let's be honest. For these last few games,
he's referenced the same thing himself in the press conference today. When it was a really short one today from both of them, but yeah, he's talked about having to build himself back up. He didn't mention he's got a history of injuries. He said how frustrated he was from the way that his injury happened. But he's, half an hour probably again tomorrow night is probably the maximum we're going to get to him before we could then think about starting him and bringing him off on 60. So yeah, you've got to have fingers crossed that he's got another 9 games left in him, because if we did get to play a final, that would be the length of the season he's got to go. But there's absolutely no way that he's going to be starting games anytime soon. I think he's going to be, maybe last game of the season he might be fit to start the game, and then hopefully some playoff fixtures. But yeah, he's aware of that himself.
Ian, can we get in playoffs, mate? Like, was it good enough? Was it enough to convince you this against Mansfield? Because bearing in mind, I've said about Mansfield's record, it's not great at the moment. And I did a bit of digging into some XG stats over the last few games, and I know, Greg, you're not a fan of it.
Look at you.
It's all XG stats. I know, but it's all I can use as an indicator for how sharp we are going forward. But if you look at the last 3 games, right, and I've split it into each half as well. Charlton, it was 0.29 first half, right. 0.38 second half. Lincoln, 0.17 first half, 0.23 second half. Mansfield, 0.03 first half, 0.4 second half, but Mansfield's XG were better than our second half. To me, that shows that we're shit in first half, better in second, kind of fits in with what we're seeing. But also, those are really poor, really poor. We're not. It just shows that we're not offering hardly anything at all going forward. And yeah, we've beaten Mansfield, and it's great. We've got the 3 points. That's all that matters. But I'm not seeing enough personally in these performances. We were hoping Worthy were going to get hold of us. We'd be attacking, full throttle football, especially after that Crawley result. Yeah, Crawley were poor, but we got forward, we attacked, we scored goals. But these last 3 games, I'm worried. I'm not seeing anything in those games to suggest that Worthy or the players have what it takes to get in those playoffs. Gaz, tell me I'm wrong, mate.
No.
Oh.
I don't think you're right. I just think we've got a better Bolton by 2 points to get in there. And when I look at our remaining fixtures, I think we're going to need to win 4 games, and I don't see 4 games in there that I can see us winning. I think, I think Stockport and Wickham are going to be really tough. Exeter are in okay form. We should be tubbing Cambridge, really, shouldn't we? And Burton, you would hope. But I just can't see. I just think we've left any kind of recovery way too late. The 2 games that counted were Charlton and Lincoln. They were the games we needed to take 4 points from to really give us the chance of nearly down a playoff place, and we blew it. We didn't take anything from either of them. So I'm with you. I can't see us getting into the play. I hope they prove me wrong. By the way, I'll be nobody happier than me. I'll be queuing up for my away ticket if we manage to get through. But I just think when you look at, well, there's basically 3 of us playing for that 6th spot, 4 if you include Leighton Orient, because they're not completely out of it, because they've got to play two of the others, us and I think us and Bolton, they've still got to play, I think. So, Leighton Orient could still have a say in where this goes. So I just don't think we're going to win enough games to see us in, because we're going to have to win at least 1 more than Bolton.
Andy, come on, mate, cheer us up here, because we've won, haven't we? Come on.
I think we've got to. I think I'd agree with Gaz. We need 4 wins out of the next 6, and are we looking like we're going to do that? I don't think it's the games against Lincoln and Charlton have cost us. I think the games against the likes of Northampton, and we've lost twice to Northampton. It's the teams down the bottom end of the division where we've not taken points that the other teams have just methodically gone and harvested points from. That's the issue. It's that lack of consistency. Apart from that 116 game section of the season, we've been consistently inconsistent, and that's the worry for me. Yeah, as it comes to the back end of the season, they become more. Each game becomes rapidly more important. But we should have been. If we beat Northampton, I'm not sure how many points we'd have then. We'll be on 70 points now, so we'd be up. We'd be nice, and we should be nice and clear in sixth place, and it'd be almost done home and hosed. So it's games like that really that have cost us. But it's the consistency for me. But yeah, completely agree. At least 4. We've got to win all of our home games and hope we get at least one win away from home. Like an idiot, I'm going to Burton on Saturday. We'll see what happens.
Ian, mate, can we do it?
Yeah, we can. Look at me being positive one. Who'd have thought? Here I am. I think we are in a 2-horse race with Bolton. I think Reading's midfield is fantastic and they'll win games, but I'm still expecting a drop-off at some point because of what's going on behind the scenes. And I know it's getting very, very late for it now, but I still expect it to happen. I don't think Orient and Blackpool have enough, even with Blackpool's, I'll say genius manager. That's probably unfair. That's probably not entirely accurate, but he knows what to do in most divisions, and he gets wins out of teams that don't necessarily deserve them. I think Blackpool do okay, but won't struggle. So it's between us and Bolton, and now Bolton look like they're dropping off a bit to me. Their performances aren't great recently. I know they got a last-minute winner the other night against Wigan, where they've kind of really fought the ball over the goal, and you do need that to make it into the playoffs. My biggest issue isn't getting into the playoffs. I think in the playoffs we'll collapse, but do I think we'll get there? Potentially. I had us taking 1 point from these last 2 games, so we're a point behind. Wickham Tuesday night is massive. I think if you ask me after Tuesday, I'd be able to give you an answer that I'd be more set on. As of now, I'm 50-50 on it, Nick. We've played like Miller coming back, and is Herbie Kane done for the season? Do we know? He's actually fully done. He's fully done. Okay. Well, I still feel we're missing a midfield piece because Kasuma's not at it just yet, but maybe he'll get there in time. Maybe he'll play himself into a little bit more form as he was involved in the second goal at the weekend. But no, I don't think it's over. I don't think it's over and out when it comes to getting into the playoffs. It's just ridiculous. We find ourselves into this position with 6 games to go where we're having to fight our way back in. I'm saying 6. I think it's 6. Having to fight our way back into it. In that we had one of the best starts we've ever had this season. We went 16 games unbeaten or whatever it is. We did so well, and we've been so terrible for so long that we've managed to find ourselves now in a position where we've gone to scrape and fight and look at other results. And it's always a bad sign, isn't it? On a Saturday when you sat there, guys, me and you looking, Town of shit at half-time, how other results going? And we're already looking at, Reading are winning. We're in that kind of phase of the season now. Tuesday night is massive because I just don't think this is a team that can fight and scrape back into contention if they fall out of it. And okay, we're not quite there at the moment, but we're close enough. It doesn't feel like there's a drift. It doesn't feel like there's a gap. And if at any point there is a gap, we're done. And tomorrow night is massive to make sure that doesn't happen.
I'm surprised you're right in Reading off because I just looked at their running is probably the easiest of the lot. Shrewsbury, Northampton, Lincoln, Mansfield, Bristol Rovers, and Barnsley. I mean, they haven't got anybody playing for anything. So Reading probably got the easiest run of the lot on, and yeah, you can only hope the momentum they've got wanes. And we still don't know what's going to happen with them from a financial point of view, and I can't be asked to look, but I'm sure if they expunge them and they take all the points off, that's going to have another effect again. Because I don't. Did we beat Reading? I don't think we did we? Did we lose one, draw one?
Yeah.
So it wouldn't help us Reading getting expunged, but it might hurt some of the others. So I still think Reading are going to have a say in it.
What about Bolton's final 6? Aren't they playing 5 of their games against the players teams that are in the top 6, not including us?
I'll assist you with that.
Thank you very much. My computer friend.
That's all right. They've got Rotherham at home, Barnsley away, Wickham at home, Lincoln away, Peterborough at home. Peterborough away, Stevenage at home. So you would imagine they're going to win. They're you look at their games, there's no in there other than Wickham that's going to cause you would have thought is going to cause them too much of a sleepless night.
Wickham could be very much the kingmakers when it comes to deciding who gets who in the playoffs.
Correct, because I think they're
Wickham's running is the really difficult one. That's the one that I'm thinking of.
But they've blown promotion now. They're not going to get into automatic, and they're almost certainly in the playoffs now. Wickham. So if you were them, you'd be thinking about managing certainly the last 3 games, wouldn't you, to make sure you're in the best shape to hit the playoffs.
Pulling a Wagner,
maybe.
Thing is, you don't know, do you? Because you think, well, they're playing teams down the bottom, but they're fighting for their lives. They're scrapping for everything. You've got teams near the top, but are they conserving? Like you say, guys. And then you've got teams in the middle, which have no to play for, but equally they've no to lose. So they can just play with shackles off. And so you get a lot of funny results this time of season. A lot of arses twitching, a lot of results that you wouldn't normally see. Town just have to be consistent. I think if we lose tomorrow, it's over. But I thought that against Lincoln, to be honest, I thought we needed to go there and get a result. I think if we lose on Tuesday, I just don't see us getting enough to get in there. And like you're saying, I think if we do get in there, we'll get absolutely annihilated because we'll probably end up playing Charlton or someone like that. I wouldn't fancy us against a Charlton, a Stockport. You know, maybe Wickham if they have an off day, but I just don't think we've got enough mentally and quality-wise to be able to get through, which is sad, really, considering how much Kevin Nagle spent. And we'll use that as a little segue, I suppose, into the next topic of conversation, which is a protest banner that we saw from the Cowshed Loyal as the players came out. The banner read, "The only way we can raise prices is to increase value to the fans. Kevin Nagle 2023, 2 years of failure." Now, some people are a little bit confused as to the message. It was all around, obviously, the season ticket prices saying, look, the value on the pitch has been awful, but yet you still raised them despite what you said 2 years ago. Do you think that it's right? You know, some people saying, look, you don't speak for us. I've no problem with Kevin Nagle. Do you think they're right to go for Kev rather than maybe some of the others at the club or some of the other things that are going on? Or do you think, yeah, actually, this is justified? I think the prices are too high, personally, for the tickets, but there's other things as well going on at the club that aren't right. I don't know. I mean, I have a lot of love for Kevin Nagle and the money he's putting into the club. So I don't know, really. I'm not sure what it's going to achieve, really. The decision's been made. But, Ian, I mean...
Oh, cheers, Nick. That's all.
Just it's all right.
Cheers, chucking that to me. No, you have to remember, I've been in the ATT meetings with the Cowshed Law when it comes to talking about the season ticket prices. I get why they're pissed. I do. I understand it because everything we were led to believe this wouldn't happen this way, and not in a way where Cowshed Loyal, I still feel, are penalised for the loyalty rather than rewarded for it. In that the South Stand price has been so much higher than the opposite end of the ground prices. Something I don't really understand too much because you get a similar view. You get an actual better view from the upper tier in the Panasonic or whatever, the big red end, whatever it is now. And that's still cheaper than it is on the Cowshed Loyal side. And I do feel like it's a little bit of profiteering from the most loyal supporters. And when you get rid of a banding entirely between under 21s and under 23s, and that's the real issue when a lot of those guys fall into that without any warning, of course it's going to be a little bit contentious. It really is. And the club must have expected that. It's a situation I feel that's been dealt with poorly from the club. I know they went back and changed. They reneged a little bit in regards to doing free under 14 season tickets and stuff. And that's great, but that didn't solve the problems that people had in the first place when the statement was put out from the Cowshed Loyal, the HSA, and ourselves and other podcasts, which I'd say ourselves, obviously, been a part of nearly every one of them. But it didn't solve their issue. So their issue remains in regards to the season ticket prices that they're having to face. So I understand it and I support it. I think other fans may have read into it a little bit differently than how it was intended, and that confusion's created an issue in the fan base, maybe. But I still will go back to that point in that I agree that the season ticket prices, especially in the South Stand, have been put up to a level that I don't feel was suggested to us in the ATT meetings. And I feel a little bit blindsided by it. And when you blindside people through poor communication, you get a bit of a fight back, don't you? And that's kind of what's happening at the moment. So I totally understand it. I understand what the issue is. Yes.
Andy, do you think the fans just feel a little bit let down with all this?
Yeah. So, but personally, I found I requested the Cowshed Loyal. Can you think about the people who are going to be behind the banner who can't read it? Because I was getting nagged by my missus and my son. What does that say? What does that say? Because I can't read it backwards. So can you write it again on the back so the rest of us behind can read it as well? Otherwise, we're having to go into bloody Twitter and try and what have you said? So think about your audience, Cowshed Loyal. But two things for me on that one. Absolutely 100% right to put the words back to the people who said them, because you said them. What was it? Reeves, the financial guy, said that the people will be rewarded for their loyalty. That's what he said. People will be rewarded for your loyalty. There is no reward for any loyalty in those season ticket prices. So again, they've said one thing and done another, and that is bound to get, as you just said, people's backs up. So 100%, I'm behind them saying that. And also behind the fact that when that banner went down, those Cowshed Loyals were as loud as I've heard them for a long time. So they 100% got behind the team on the pitch. So that's what they're there to do. Talk about people getting their, remembering their jobs. Duff used to talk about that. Do your job. They did their job. 100% backed the team for as long as they could. I mean, fair play to Mansfield. I thought they brought a huge crowd, sat down for the entire game, but that's a different thing. And they made a lot of noise, and so did the Cowshed Loyal and the people around. So I think they did a good job of supporting the team. Whether they supported other people in the boardroom, we'll probably come on to as well. But 100% right. I still haven't renewed. I am pondering renewing. You all know that I sponsor Tommy Pender's shirt. I haven't found out what my prices are going to be. I dread to think what they're going to expect me to pay for the privilege of sponsoring Tom's shirt. And it is a privilege, The kid's a top lad, and happy birthday for yesterday, Tom. I'm sure you're not watching, but there's going to be a lot more miles to go yet before my hand goes in my pocket to renew. I've got not just my season ticket to pay for, my missus and my son's as well. Although George's is now down to 129 quid from what it was. But don't say one thing and do the other. That's the thing that really frustrates me about this, because that wasn't the message that was the business breakfast either. We talked about increasing revenue. Get that 100%, but don't say we're going to do it incrementally. Don't say we're going to reward royalty and then don't do it, because that's unethical for me. So I'm not happy with that at all.
Andy, you get your own. Terrier Jack said it here. You get your own seat reserved for the season. That was one of the benefits listed on the website. Gaz, has that sold? It were on, mate. It was. Gaz, has that sold it to you, mate?
I know exactly. Well, there's two things really. One, just Terry Jack. I mean, I don't know Poz personally, but Terry Jack just said he doesn't like Nagel. Oh, that's really unfair on Pozza. I don't know him, but that lad has put his heart and soul into the South Stand and the Cowshed Loyal. So I'm sure it's only a joke, Jack, but that's really fair. The second thing is, I'm surprised to learn you sponsored Tom Pender, Andy. That's news to me.
I don't like to mention it. I don't like to mention it.
You must keep us informed of these things in future. I've never heard of it. So, but I thought the banner was for me was twofold, because he was obviously an objection to season ticket prices, and for a club that loves to talk so much at time, they're fucking quite over season ticket renewal volumes, aren't we? Fucking silence. We've no idea how many have sold or not sold. I think it was it was also a veiled dig at the performance on the pitch around. You can't talk. You talk about putting it up when we get value for money, and the value for money is shite. So I'm sure it was aimed as much at the senior management of the club as it was at Kevin for not listening to that part of the feedback. I think there were obviously some chants about our mate Mr. Cartwright from the Cowshed Loyal. I could hear some of them. I sit in the upper tier. I couldn't hear all of them. I'm hearing there were other things said that were probably worse than get out of our club. I didn't hear that, which it ain't great. But the frustration levels are starting to reach a bit of fever pitch now out there. I think I saw people on social media after the game claiming he was a genius because he signed Michael Miller. Well, but the bloke's been out injured for 18 weeks. So, come back to me when he plays a full season. So yeah, I think it was a message in two forms for me, but on both of these, other than the club making a, I come back to what you said. We've gone on a lot about season tickets, haven't we? But I come back to what you said, Nick, where you wondered whether the whole reduction of the under 14s to 0 was actually a marketing ploy, and they intended to do it all along. And that probably rings true when it comes to the way Kev operates around some of this stuff. So I still haven't renewed as it stands, and I've sat in my seat for 22 years. So, that probably tells you a little bit about where, if somebody who's sat in his seat for 22 years is umming and ahhing over it, it probably tells you where most people are at the minute.
Yeah. Must have a sore backside if you've sat in that seat for 22 years, mate.
Well, it's all right. The bloke next to me only ever stopped for 79 minutes, so it's fine. Once he's gone, I can spread out.
Yeah, I'm similar, to be honest. I don't know. I don't know whether to renew or not. I mean, by all accounts, there haven't been a lot of renews so far. Whether that's going to make the club sweat a bit, rethink things, I'm not sure. But I still maintain, I said this before, I think people will renew because it's very hard to break that habit of going after so long. Like you say, guys, 22 years is a long time. And it's hard when if you can't afford it, yeah, but there are still quite a few people that probably can afford it, and it will be umming and ahhing, and then suddenly at the last minute they'll be, oh, go on then. You kind of renew hoping things will get better. You sold all these ideas, and then next season we'll probably be sat here saying, why did we do that? But that's football, isn't it? It's
if I don't renew, Nick, I'm not going to have much to say on this fucking thing, am I? So
I think it's we'll have a summer going out with wives and girlfriends to shopping on a Saturday, and it'll get to July if you've not renewed. We've got, oh, for fuck's sake, we've got 9 months of football. Best thing in my life.
Cricket season, man.
Oh,
it's cricket season, man. For God's sake, you'd rather go shopping than play.
Don't start cricket again. Get him on training. That's more interesting.
Absolutely.
It's the first sport for people that can't play football, and the second is rugby. And just alienate everyone that's listening. It's absolutely fine. Jed Robinson's made a comment, and I do want to address this. He said, Kev's not at a walking ATM. Everyone reaches a limit. The only thing I will say to that is he's choosing to put the money in, Jed. He's putting the money in that he wants to put in himself as the owner. Now, if he fucks off in a year and all the fans have left, that debt could still be owed by the club. So it's no excuse that he's the ATM. No, that money, I am sure, will be loaded onto the club as some sort of director loan, right? And now I'm not saying he will call it in. We've been here before with Barry Ruber. We know what can happen when owners lose interest and walk away. The difference is if all the fans have walked away as well because his season ticket prices are too high right now, who's going to be there for when it goes to shit, if it goes to shit? I'm not saying that it will. It's really important that the club don't alienate fans. And absolutely, Kev, he's only going to put a certain amount of money in. It's his money. He can do what he wishes. That doesn't excuse us being upset when it comes to the price of season tickets. We need to be there. We are the club, not the owners. The owners are here for a short period of time. The fans, most of us are here for a lifetime. This kind of thing upsets people. And if people like Gaz, he's not going to not renew, though. He's pretending. He loves his seat. Gaz is loaded. He can afford the seats, no problem. He's going to be absolutely fine. Andy sponsors a player. He's fine and all. Let's not pretend, boys, we're not going to be renewing. We'll all be there in August. But it's not about us. As funny as it sounds, us four idiots on this podcast, we aren't the guys that are the most important when it comes to the club. The most important people when it comes to the club are the floating fans, because they're the ones you can lose, and they're the ones that are really hard to get back. We're in a town where the rugby league club has been supported out of the town for a few years. There's not enough people watching Huddersfield Giants to stay in the stadium that they're in, right? They've now likely to move to Halifax and may never come back. We're not a club that can afford to lose fans just for a couple of years based on season tickets. When you just look at the Giants, this town's facing so many struggles when it comes to getting people to sporting events. It's not the time to alienate people more and more and more. But that's what this kind of feels like it is doing. And I just hope the club really kind of understand the threat of that and try and avoid it as best they can. Yes, I think we can all agree season ticket prices, even though it's relative that most clubs don't earn that much money from season ticket prices, they need to go up, right? But they can go up in a sustained way because that's what was communicated to us in the first place. But when you don't do what was communicated to us in the first place and pull a just try and pull a bit of a trick over Yorkshire people don't forget and Yorkshire people don't forgive. We just got to be very, very careful. And I just hope they get it right eventually, because I'm not entirely sure where we're at right now is right for everybody. And it's going to leave a sour taste in the mouth. And it's such a stupid one to do it on. It probably, like you say, it won't be a massive amount of money to make it a price rise that's reasonable for most people without causing the anger that it has caused. I just feel like it's missing still at the moment. I just want to adjust it. But it's no excuse just to say Kevin's a walking ATM, because he's choosing to do it. No one's forcing him to do it. He's choosing to do it.
I think we're lucky he is doing it. But sorry, guys, I'm saying I think we're lucky he is doing it, because where would we have been without him coming in? I think we were on the brink of admin at one point, weren't we? So I don't know where we'd be, to be honest. I think but that's a good point there, from Terry Jack, that also, he's putting this money in, but we've also got to be careful with what we're spending. And they seem to be putting a lot of onus on getting promoted. We've got to get promoted. Well, it doesn't look like that's going to happen this season with the best will in the world. I hope it does, but I don't think we've got enough. That puts a lot of pressure then on next season. And I think the fans, most of the fans will renew. They'll stick with it. I think the club could have done it better. I think if they'd have put it up by 50 quid last season, instead of keeping it the same, and explained it to the fans why they had to do that, people would have accepted it. And then another 50 this time, they'd have probably got the similar result, finance-wise, whilst also appeasing the fans. And I think it's just the fact that they've umped it up by so much in one go. But is that the first of many? Because, I know, Andy, you said, well, they said they were going to do it staggered. They were going to do it in increments. Well, maybe it is. What's the next increase going to be? Yeah. This doesn't mean that this is the last one, does it? We could be upwards of 500 quid here before we're done. So that's the worry. And I do worry if Kevin Nagle thinks, why am I arguing with Huddersfield fans on Twitter about bollocks when I'm a billionaire? I've got my own ranch. I'll just go and sack it off. Thank you very much. Where does that leave us? I don't know. I can see the concerns, but we've got to be as one. We've got to be, because there's no other option. He ain't going anywhere for now. So we've all got to. We've got to sit behind him and hope that he manages to get it right. Because £40 million spent, but it's been a fucking disaster from a playing point of view. There's been good things behind the scenes and in the ground and what have you, but pretty every single footballing decision has been a disaster since he's been here. So where's that 40 million? What are you getting in return? Well, he's not got much, has he? He's not got much.
And when you look at we're not going to go into the accounts in detail, but when you look at those numbers, I think I put on Twitter, every fucking business, you just shut it. His losses have increased 134%. His revenue isn't even 80% of what we pay in wages, let alone fixed expenses. Even if you grew revenues by 20%, you're still only just covering the wage bill. Never mind everything else someone's paying for: electric, heating, rates, rent, vehicle, whatever it is that you want to pay for. And he's up the borrowing by 17 million quid. So in the last year alone, he's pumped 17 million quid of loans in. So we've lost 15 million and he's put 17 in. So we've managed to burn 15 million quid of cash. The thing that made me laugh the most was apparently the squad's valued at 8.4 million quid. Who buy? Mark Cartwright. I mean, fucking.
Here it is.
Me. There's 8 million quid there.
I cannot think of a player that we could sell for 7 figures. Not one. Maybe Taylor. Somebody might take a punt on him.
Roofskin, maybe.
Maybe. But, there ain't 8 million quid's within there, is there? And I think if I've got to... Somebody said something about the stadium, I think, for the stadium's the jewel in the crown. I think that's what he's hanging his hat on. He's absolutely hanging his hat on acquiring that real estate, making that real estate really valuable and recovering his money that way. It must be a property play, because if it isn't, you have to worry about the bloke's bloody sanity, don't you? As you said it, what on earth is he doing? He's mad. He's absolutely mad. But, I still don't know. There's still no news on changes at the top. I think Cartwright's going nowhere. So we can all moan as much as we want. We can put some banners up, print out some more A4 bits of paper and wave them about. But I think Kevin's deaf to it. I think he's decided that's his structure. and he'll see it out. I think you might be of a slightly different view, Killer, to me, but
Yeah.
I think he's going to ride it out. I do, honestly.
One of the things
I think. Sorry, Nick.
No, go on. No, sorry, mate. The only thing I was going to say is that stuck out to me in these accounts is the player sales profits 8.9 million going down to 4.4 million. Now, to me, player sales are a big part of the income. You know, forget the season tickets and what have you. Player sales have a lot more potential to generate income, and the fact that it's dropped off, but the fact that it's dropped off so dramatically again is, to me, on the recruitment team, because that shows that we're getting in players that are poor quality, that we're not selling for money. So again, that's something else and I'm not into just putting loads of digs at recruitment team left, right and centre, but that to me is proof that we're not recruiting right. We're not generating, even half of what we were the season before in player sales. And that's a massive part of it. You know, we do that, forget season ticket income, because that's a drop in the ocean. I mean, what's it going to be next time? Because like you said, Gaz, we've got, we're selling for money in this squad, really. Where they're performing.
No, but not with the wages we pay either. And that's the other challenge is, people keep saying we're going to have a big, including us, we're going to have a big turnaround in the summer. And there will be we've got some established senior players who are probably on decent money that are going to be moved on. But we're still going to have a squad padded out with people on, you've got fucking Radulovic to come back. Sober Thomas is coming back at the moment. These are players on big money, big championship money. What are we going to do with them? So, I also, the next problem you're then going to have is all we're going to be able to pick up are cheap players or players on freeze. And then you're suddenly signing substandard, aren't you?
Oh, fucking hell, guys. Come on. How grim's this? The only thing I do want to pick out from the accounts as well is in the last couple, in the most recent 2 years on the accounts, rent appeared for something. And it was 1.2 million and 1.4 million. And now I'm not entirely sure, but what does that rent cover? Is it canal side? It's only a question. I'm not saying it is or it isn't, but I don't know what else that it could appeal under, but it's not under anything else. And now accounts are funny things in that you can, I won't necessarily say hide things because that sounds sinister, but you can account for things in different ways that makes it quite difficult to work out what's what. So I don't actually know, but of the accounts, we knew we were going to make a massive loss. Absolutely. Like you say, Nick, what the estimated value of the squad always makes me laugh because it's a load of nonsense. But when it comes to looking at the figures, the only thing that stood out to me is what that rent's there for. That's all.
Yeah, it's. Andy, have you anything else to add on the accounts, mate? It's pretty grim reading, isn't it? I mean, we're not the only club losing millions of pounds, are we? Pretty much every football club, barring New Wrexham, who have a shit ton of sponsorship money, which will run out as soon as them two owners bugger off. None of the other clubs are exactly raking money in, are they? Especially at League One level. So should we be that concerned by this, or is it just to be expected?
I think we should be concerned because rightfully we care about the club. But the rent thing, I just wondered whether it was rent. Although it just feels it was rent for the offices at the stadium, because obviously that's not ours. But that it just feels like that's a very high price to pay. So it would be logical to think that it might be. But I think the research has been done into who owns Canalside, and I don't know whether it is Dean Hoyle or not. But yeah, it's unusual for it to appear, having not appeared before. But that's the only thing I'd hazard a guess at. The thing for me is, how does he increase revenue? There's got to be other income streams apart from us at the club. Shirt sponsorship. That we've done the biggest deal we've ever done for the supply of the shirts. I presume we haven't got a sponsor yet. We might need to go and talk to Man City about how they finance their club and see what we can do. We get a fake airline that comes in and sponsors Nagle Airways or something that comes on and sponsors us for 16 million quid, because he's got the brass on it. He could put it in, you presume, if he wanted to, but it's restricted from how much you can spend of the turnover of the club. But how we've managed to spend 127% of our turnover on players when that rule, the 60% rule, wasn't there before, obviously, but there were restrictions in the Championship beyond me. But Mr. Reeves has got a job and a half to do, because it's fallen on his shoulders to increase the level of revenue into the club. I think we've got to look to multiple different sources, which is why he's wanting to invest in the stadium. Once the concerts, as has been put in the comments, once the amphitheatre building for those cold January days when we're going to go see Coldplay there, the hotel stuff. There's a lot of great ideas. Whether they come to fruition or not, I don't know. But we're going to have to work hard to pull this one around. But a lot of clubs are in the same situation, but that doesn't make it any easier, I don't think. Have a ski lodge and what have you. The thing but I don't understand how the Birmingham guy has done what he's done, and we've not been able to do the same thing. And that's the bit that I do not understand. Other than that, he's taken a huge gamble that's paid off in terms of the amount of money that he's put in under the previous restrictions. And I'm not fishing for anything. I genuinely don't know how he's managed to do what he does. Whether he's more wealthy than Kevin, I've no idea. But he seems to have gone down one route, and we've gone and done a more maybe sustainable and less risky route. Well, where are we?
15 million quid losses. You class that as sustainable?
That's how loaded you guys are. That's sustainable for you. Look at you.
Into that. Oh. Andy owns Dodworth. That's all. Don't you, mate? Own Dodworth.
I don't.
It wouldn't surprise me if he's got eyes on the land around the stadium to develop. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some residential and retail development opportunities to be had there. And I do suspect that he's eyeing that up as well. It's a big area around the stadium with a lot of potential. And maybe that's where you'll start to see some of that money being recouped. I'm not sure. But from my point of view, I just want a football club to be here in 10 years and not going out with buckets like back in the day, scrounging when we got into admin and we're struggling to keep the club afloat. As long as we're stable, we can moan about the players that they bring in and the quality of the football, but at least we've got a club to support, haven't we? So I just hope that it is sustainable in some way going forward, and we can try and generate some more revenue. Quickly touch on, obviously, the Cartwright we already talked about. There were boos, there's some quite nasty chants there. I've seen posted somewhere Cartwright responded when one of the goals went in. I think he put some V's up at the South Stand, according to some reports. I mean, guys, what's going on? I mean, look, the bloke, I don't know him. I'm sure he's a nice guy, and look, it's not easy. I can't imagine how difficult it is in a job like that. I know they're paid really well, but if you're getting lots of personal abuse, and I mean, I think they were talking even some death threats at some point. It must be so difficult, and I feel sorry for his family there in the ground. But you can't react like that. You've got to have some element of professionalism, and we go back to the calling someone out for a fight outside and all this, that, and the other. And, if you take me as an example, I work in the NHS. Well, I used to do, but you've got to have a certain persona about you. You've got to act in a certain way. You've got to be careful what you say and what you do, because people pick up on that. And it's exactly the same with people in these kind of positions. You've got to handle yourself in a certain way, despite what's going on around you. You've got to be quite show some restraint, show some discipline, and deal with things in the right way. And flicking these up because we've scored a goal is not the right way to go about things, in my opinion. Ian, have you any comments on it? Because the worrying thing for me, mate, I don't see this going away. I don't see. I'm with Gaz. I think if Mark Cartwright was going, it'd have gone already. I think Kev's backing him. But I don't think the fans are going to back down. You know what town fans are like when they get an idea in their head, when they don't like someone, they're like a dog with a bone, aren't they? They don't let it go. So where's this going to end? Where's it going to end?
My view is very different to Gaz's on this, in that I think it'll be a bit of a chess move later on to remove Mark Cartwright to sell season tickets potentially, and I think that for a few reasons, and I feel like to get town fans, I can't say why, to get town fans back on side, that would probably help with a lot of fans. I think, of course, this is all subjective or rumoured in regards to what actually has happened, because there's no definitive thing that neither us four have seen anything. We've only heard things. But if that has happened, as is reported, it's a joke that he's still at the club, for starters, for me. We're a team as a club, we're, as seen from the finances, losing money, and we need more than ever to be together. Everything together. Everything together. What? Them chanting your shite and you giving them V's back. And we're supposed to sit here then and be like, everything together. Is it fuck everything together? If this has happened, it's a joke. It's still in, because you've got the owner and then you have the CEO and then you've got the technical director when it comes to football. So you're third in charge for me when you look at the hierarchy. How can you have the third in charge fighting effectively, mentally or strategically when it against the ultras, the fan base? And it's not just them, because I think a lot of people have issues with the way the signings have gone this year. And when you look back at a Q&A that we were supposed to have and somebody just wasn't there, and there was no secondary meeting arranged. From that moment on, it's being handled in possibly the worst way possible. And now, if death threats have happened, that's ridiculous. That shouldn't happen. And if you've done that, you're stupid and you should look at yourself because you're embarrassing, right? If that has happened, fans have overstepped the mark. And you always get a few idiots. I understand that. But football's a cutthroat game. It's a game where it's competitive. If somebody's not performing at the job, they should be removed from that. That's how football works. And we're all here talking about it because that's football. It's a game and there's a lot at stake, but that's the nature of the beast. And it's why you get paid shitloads to do it, because at any moment you can remove from your position for poor performance. That's for footballers, anyone involved with the football club. That's how it works. It's unprofessional as fuck if this is happening. I haven't seen it personally. So again, I can't go fully on record to say it shouldn't, whatnot. But the rumours seem pretty full on, especially when it came to the last one of asking somebody outside. Again, we didn't get full confirmation whether it did or didn't happen, but there's just so much happening that it's creating such an ill feeling between the fan base. I don't see how it resolves itself with Mark Cartwright still in position, unfortunately. And that's even if you brought in the best footballers and we were absolutely flying, if this other stuff was still going on, or rumoured to be going on, it wouldn't sit very well. And maybe it's just us as Huddersfield Town. Maybe we're sat here and we're in the wrong in that we're pathetic as a fan base and we've got issues and we should be tougher skinned or we should be easy with people and whatnot. But when Edwards, Cartwright and Kevin Russell all played for the same team, in 2001 at Wrexham, and then everyone's kind of protecting each other as it feels or as it appears from the outside, you can't not understand where extra issues are coming from. And it's a very, very complex situation. And I don't know how best to deal with it, but it's not everything together. That's one thing it isn't. And when you go out as a communication model with that, last year I got my season ticket and got a sticker saying it's still on my car. That's not what we're seeing, is it? It's not what we're hearing. And that lack of congruity is an issue. And I think it's a bigger issue than the club realise at the moment. And I still feel like they kind of think it's just going to all go under the rug eventually if we win a couple of games. The problem is this team can't win that many games, so they're going to have to find another way to do it. And I'm not entirely sure how they're going to do it other than bring a new director of football eventually. But that's my on the fence opinion on it, boys.
Well, we don't know what happened on Saturday, and as you say, we've only got reports, but a few people have said it. So either there's a conspiracy or they're all making it up. But what I do know that is absolute fact is that in his first season in charge, we got relegated. We then had the shambles of him being re-interviewed in a queue of one for his. Would you like your job, Kev? Yeah, that'd be lovely, Kev. Thanks. No, I'm being flippant, but you get my point. You know, Kevin said he was re-interviewed for his job. He was the only bloke interviewed. So unless he said he didn't want it, likely he was going to get it. We had the ridiculous pre-season statement where the bloke says, "I know this sounds ridiculous." Well, yeah, you're right. It fucking sounds ridiculous, mate. We're not in a better place. We've been relegated. You've got the story of him moving into the manager's office when they booted Warnock out of the door. So he's now got a bigger office than the team manager. You know, we're going to miss the playoffs if we're on current form and the way we're going, with the second biggest wage budget in the league. You know, and his actions, if they are true, and we have to say we don't know this for sure, do we? But, you know, we do know that offering the lad out for a scrap was a fact because Carmichael Dave had to intervene, didn't he, and get involved. So, you know, what the very minimum he's showing is a lack of class. You know, this is up there with Pearson shushing the crowd. When you get promoted, when we've been through the playoffs and we win at Wembley, by all means, get yourself on Radio Leeds and tell us you were right all along and that we don't know what we're doing and we don't know what we're talking about. By all means, my mate. But whilst we're in this current position, you need to keep your counsel. In his position, he's a senior member of our representative. He should be behaving like a bloke that is a senior member of a board of directors. I mean, I think about if I went to a board meeting and we all started shushing each other and calling each other wankers and offering each other out, what do you think would happen? CEO would have us out on the street. In every other walk of life, that kind of behaviour from somebody in a senior position would have massive repercussions. Seems like it's not a problem at Huddersfield Town. So
maybe that's what maybe that's what we need to do. Maybe that's what we need to do on the podcast, right? If you disagree with me, give me V's, and I'll give you V's when I disagree with you, and we'll see how well that goes. Because that's the equivalent, isn't it? That's what's going on. It's unbelievable if that's happened.
It's just I don't know what the bloke. The bloke's clearly getting some stick, and it mustn't be nice. As his family's probably in the ground and all, and it's horrible. But that's not the response, is it? He's a senior member of staff, well paid, I might add, and he needs to show a bit more class and a bit more respect. And then if we get promoted, by all means, mate, get yourself on here and tell us that we don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah. But other than that, is he doing all right, Gaz?
It's not personal, and that's the thing. I think that's probably the bit that town fans have to be careful of. You can't make this personal. It has to be about his performance.
And it did get that way on Saturday. The chant that you couldn't hear, that I heard, was unacceptable. That people may disagree with me on that one. The chant that I heard was absolutely unacceptable. You can say the guy's crap at his job and not go to that depth. That I really didn't like that on Saturday.
It is, Andy. It's disgusting, like some of the stuff he's had. But again, I bring it back to, I've worked in hospitals up and down the country. People in there, they get kicked, they get spat at, they get hurled abuse at, but you don't see them offering bloody patients out in car park for a fist fight, do you? Or flicking these up at consultants. You don't. You've got to show some restraint and some class and some professionalism. And if it's true, then it's wrong, and he can't be doing that.
But I think Terry and Jack did for me when he put that. I heard he chinned that Maureen. That's absolutely ruined me when he put that. The fair dues, Terry and Jack. Yeah, that absolutely is completely unforgivable. That
Gary Monk once said he needs to show class, humility, and respect. That's where he is at the minute. And if he's as good as he thinks he is, and he's as good as Kevin says he is, he's going to solve this. And if he isn't, then he should be paying the price. We're just this cover's just going to be Nick banging a pan like that from the front cover picture.
I've not worked in Liverpool, Peter. I have worked in Hull, and to be fair, the chief exec's just been called out in paper for nutting someone. So actually, probably right now. But usually,
you don't do that.
You have to show professionalism and restraint. So, and talking of unprofessional knobs, Dion Charles, after his antics going to watch Bolton, now got booed on the pitch. Again, I mean, was it right or not? I mean, it's not going to help the bloke, but equally, my personal take quickly is he was an idiot. You don't do that. Again, it's about professionalism. You're part of our team. If you can physically get out and watch a game, then you come and watch your own team or you stay at home. So I think this was partly just the fans just reminding him of that, just saying, look, we weren't happy with antics, but that's the end of it now. And I think when he actually came on, he played well and the crowd got behind him. I think it was just a bit of a, look, we don't agree with what you've done. We're letting you know about it. Let's move on. Anything else on that, or you disagree, or were they right to boo?
He shouldn't have gone. He should not have gone to that game. It's ridiculous he went to that game. And my issue was, if somebody signed off on it at the club, they're stupid, right? And they should be questioned why they'd sign off on it. Because of course, fans are going to turn against it. And if he hadn't signed off on it and he's gone on his own, then how dumb is he? How dumb can you be that you go to a game in this day and age against a team who you're fighting for the playoffs for? And no matter how long Dion Charles is at town, people remember that. And every time there's a bad game, people remember that. It's just such a silly thing to do. And he's not a young lad. He's what? I don't actually know how old he is. Is he 30, 31, 29, 31? Somewhere in there. Like he's an older pro. He's an older pro. He shouldn't have gone. Taking a 3-year-old kid. I've got, how many 3-year-old kids have I got in this house, right? There's been a lot of 3-year-old kids in this house. And I can tell you for a fact, they don't support the club. They've got a clue. They've not got a clue what they're supporting. So to say, taking a 3-year-old lad, 3-year-old kid to watch a club they support, it's tenuous. It wouldn't stand up in court, I don't think, if we were going to say that's why somebody went. I just feel like it's a little bit of a cop out, Dion. I'll be totally honest, mate. I understand why you went because I'm a bit of a club whore, podcast or club whore. I've played for so many different clubs, and I want to go back and see the old clubs I've played for every now and again. Or keep an eye on how the scores are going. Of course you do, but you have to read the room, man. You have to read the room, and you have to understand that when we've got battered at lunchtime, you can't go watch them in the afternoon. It's just a bit of a no-no. It's not even a bit of a no-no. It's a mega no-no, and you shouldn't have done it. And if all that you get from it is a few boos running on from the subs bench, that's it. Then you've got away with lightly. I don't think that'll happen, unfortunately. I think Town fans will remember that for a long, long, long time because Town fans are as sad as you and I, guys. We won't forget it, will we? We'll comment about this for a long time. Every time there's a shit day, but yeah, well, maybe he's more bothered about how Bolton played today. That's what's going to happen, unfortunately, for Dion. But I didn't feel like it overstepped the mark. I just hope he bags a couple Tuesday night and then we can all pretend it never happened for a few weeks until he doesn't.
Jed's just asked a question, boys, about who's on the wish list for manager. We did get that tweet from a journalist, didn't we, suggesting that we weren't happy with Worthy after our 2 defeats and we may be looking at a manager. So Barry Murphy was mentioned and Paul Warne, maybe. Said Wagner, there was a piece also that saying Wagner would come back, but at the right time, this wasn't the right time. I mean, do either of those names particularly excite you? Do they get you aroused? You know, I can't say that really Paul Warne gets the blood pumping, does it? It's, the thing is, it's whether you want really entertaining, exciting football, but potentially not go up, or do you want industrial grafting, boring as football, but likely to go up? You know, Paul Warne's had, is it 3 promotions from this league, 3 or 4? He's got a good track record, yeah. So do you go with that? You know, on paper, you say a club like ours, a bit of the basket case when it comes to managers, could do a lot worse. But then you look at the football and how the fans have reacted to Duff Ball, it's a recipe for disaster, isn't it? So I don't know, guys, where you are. I'm not particularly over enamoured with either, although I would say Paul Warne probably the safest option. Gaz?
Mum, I said Barry Murphy don't particularly excite me. Feels a bit like another Fotheringham done it, great coach maybe, but I'm not up for that. Paul Warne, the Derby fans couldn't wait to get rid of him, but he got him promoted. But then again, they chucked a load of money at it. Weirdly, I'd had a look this morning. I won't tell you what I was doing at the time, at the odds online, and weirdly, Ian Everett seems to come out of absolutely nowhere and gone quite short, which worries me. But then again, so was Wayne Rooney. So leave into that what you will. There's nobody, is there? I mean, the best of a bad bunch is probably Paul Warne. I think he's a working class lad. He knows this area well, lives in this part of the country, and he's got 2 teams promoted out of League One into the Championship, hasn't he? So whether you like him or not, the bloke's got a track record. But so did Michael Duff. So.
And we need to get out of this league, don't we? Is it about style or is it about substance?
I don't know enough about football style to care about that. I care about the number of times the ball goes in the net, and that's more times than the opposition do it. And we get progressively more and more successful. So style doesn't matter to me. It's about results. So for me, that would be Paul Warne would seem to be the one. There was a podcast ages ago where he was on with the Robinson guy, the guy from NK Dons, and they did some behind the scenes stuff with both of them. Robinson came across okay. Warne came across, I thought, really, really well. So I like the way that he goes about things. Whether his football style is attractive to watch, I don't really know. What's the name of the Luton fellow, the one that took him up and then kept get down and got sacked?
Rob Edwards.
So Rob Edwards has also impressed me particularly with the way that he dealt with the guy who had the heart attack again. I can't remember his name. But I like my managers and my clubs to be good human beings, and style doesn't matter that much to me as long as so Edwards or Warne for me. Definitely not Wayne Rooney. I'm sorry, that's just madness. Whoever's putting money on that, just can't go down that route. But those two were my of what's available at the minute. But I think they'll probably go. They'll go onto the continent. I don't think they'll pick from the pool that's in here at the minute. I think they'll go and look elsewhere for a young coach they'll try and replicate the Wagner thing without Wagner and go that way.
Ian, who do you want there? I've generally no idea who we will go for. Generally no idea.
As Terry Jack says, Steve Evans is available. It'd be quality when you're watching him getting frosty on sideline. Nah, you see, do you know what though? Do you know what? To say Gaz called out Andy for his Tom Upenda shit earlier on, I can't sit here, Gaz. Do you work in Derby? Do you work in Derby, Gaz? I work in Derby. Or I've got a few mates at Stokies. That normally comes out. I just wanted to even it up for Andy. I thought it was unfair that you dealt with that earlier on. Mate. It's all right, Andy. I'm here for you, mate. You sorted me out with tickets to Shrewsbury, and we won that one. So
there we go.
We're equal. We're evens.
Quits. Quits on that one.
When it comes to managers, you see, I won't look past 4-1 because to me, it's about getting out of this division. And I'm like Andy, if you win games, I don't care how you win them. I just like winning games. I think there's always a technical aspect of winning games. It just might not be nice to watch, but there's always a fight somewhere on the field. Sam Allardyce doesn't accidentally win games. It might be boring to watch, but he works out how to win those games. I'm still a massive Cowleys fan. I love it. I thought they were great. I thought they were fantastic. I thought they're the kind of guys that take over a club like us in the situation we're in now where it's just shit everywhere and they take over the recruitment, they take over the playing style, and it all makes sense. Like they did with Lincoln and got them into League One where they are now, and they built something where they're able to stay there. And they've not really built from there, but they've stayed there because of the framework they put in. Now, I feel that's what we need again. We need somebody to come in, unless it's just to get out of this division, like Paul Warren. You're looking at somebody who's going to build something proper. And now no one screams out to me in League Two when I look at them in the conference. I don't really see anybody here that really can do that. So that's why I'd be edging towards Paul Warren, unless you go to the continent. But we tried it with Brighton writer, and it went to shit. It went awfully. So will they do that again? Good businessmen adapt from the mistakes they've made previously. I don't think we'll get an experienced guy from the continent because of that. Maybe a new guy, maybe somebody who's got a bit of experience like Corbyn had when he was at Leeds and came to us, because he's doing absolutely fantastically well. It's nice to give a shout out to our man Corbs in it. He's doing unbelievably at Valencia. In that, what they won like 3 out of the last. They're like 3rd in the form table of the last 6 games. They beat Real yesterday. They beat Madrid's last couple of games.
Unbelievable. 94-95 winner or something at Real Madrid.
And his football wasn't the most exciting, was it? But he won games and he out-tacticaled people in the second half time and time again. It was fantastic. I don't know where this will go, but Paul Warren for me for looking in England. And the thing is, we've got to remember that we're not that attractive to other managers anymore because we go through people so quickly. Everyone can kind of talk about it, that the players are the issue. Every manager we've had has spoken about the players being an issue and the playing culture and players turning up to training apparently late and just being an issue. Well, that's why we had a new leadership group this year, didn't we, with Jaheim Headley in it at one point, and that worked out very, very well. So there's so many issues, I think, with the squad. This year, we probably are going to get that turnover in summer because of so many people out of contract. It's time for them to come in and build something proper who we don't know. Unless you're looking at getting out of the division, then Paul won. A bit like when Simon Grayson came in, and then you kind of change him and once you go up a division and work something out from there. I don't know. There's nobody that screams out to us, do they? But I think what is clear, and I think what we can all really agree on and are agreeing on here, is that Jonathan Worthington won't be the guy next year.
No. Yeah. Yep, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see who comes in and who can work with the current establishment as well. You know, how much do they have on players incoming and all the stuff behind the scenes? Some people can adapt, some can't. They like to have it their own way. I can't see a guy like David Wagner coming into this setup anytime soon. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Finally, guys, let's move on to Wickham. Tomorrow night, big game. Tough game. Wickham have started to stutter a little bit. I don't see anyone catching Wrexham now. I think they'll go up second, but it's not going to be easy, guys, is it? We're going to have to up it massively if we're going to get a result here, aren't we? The players of team, they've done really well, I think, in the face of the manager leaving. They did really well to hang on to Kone. I mean, that's the difference, I guess, between them and us. You know, we let our captain go, didn't we? They went all out to keep hold of their striker, despite big bids. and it's worked out to a point for them. Guys, what are your predictions for tomorrow? Because I'm predicting a draw. I think it's going to be a cagey game, scrappy. Neither side wants to lose. I think if we've any realistic chance of getting in the playoffs, we need to win, but I don't think we will. I think it'll be 1-1. Gaz?
Yeah, well, I was going to go for a draw. Their form recently over the last 6 has been similar to ours. They've only won 2 out of the last 6. But they have played against Wrexham and Reading and lost to both of those. So they lost to teams in form. And I'm with you. I think if you're in their shoes, Nick, you just don't want to lose the game tomorrow. You don't really need to win it, but you're not going to want to lose it. We need to win it, but our track record of forcing games and making it happen has been a struggle recently, hasn't it? So all we can hope is we get another repeat of Saturday, really, which we can play them out for an hour, and then hopefully the subs come on and turn the game for us. But I'm with you. I think I had a draw down. I was going to say 0-0, but I'll go 1-1 with you, Nick, I think.
Andy?
2-0 Town. We're going to surprise the shit out of everybody by actually being good for a game. We'd do it. We are absolutely due it. I think if we are still in the game, like the 60-minute piece, I think if we're still in the game in 60 minutes, we'll win it.
You see, that's why you're on here, mate, for that positivity, just to balance us miserable feckers out. Ian?
I'm joining Andy. Me and Andy best mates tonight. I'm going with the win for Town. I had 3-1 and I thought we'd beat Mansfield 3-1. Mansfield had scored like 8 out of last 10 away games, so they're always going to bag one. Maybe that's why I'm less harsh on Town conceding one. Wickham, I thought last time we played them, I thought we outplayed them pretty comfortably down there. I thought we were actually quite good against them. Do you know what? I'm dead. I go 2-0, but that shit else we're doing the same as you, so I'm not doing that. I'll go 3-0 Town. I'm going massive tonight.
Whoa.
Yeah, what I'm thinking. I think Wickham need points because Wrexham are pulling away a little bit. I think Wickham, if they're going to chase them, we're going to have to win the game. And I think if we go 1-0 up, I think we will catch them. I think we've got pace up top. I think we have options. And if things go well, early doors for us, we're all right. And I think I'm sensing it's been a while since we scored early. I think Worthington tomorrow will have. I don't think Worthington's too hard to kind of predict how he's going to think. In that we went all out against Crawley, went all out against Charlton, went against us, against Lincoln, and we're like, oh well, let's hold back, let's not concede too much and try and feel our way into it. Didn't work. Then we played Mansfield, and he's gone right. Let's kind of do a little bit more reserve. And then last time he's like, let's have a go, and it kind of worked a little bit. I feel like we'll go again against Wickham, and I think we're matched up well against them. I think we'll score early doors and a couple of counters later on. I'll go Taylor to look like a bona fide 9, and as to all look stupid when he scores a couple, and Ben Wilesy scores another 3-0.
Dion Charles knee slide in front of Cowshed because they'll play it all the way down. 89th minute.
Too much.
Giving it this, probably.
Dion, that's how you do it, Dion. That's it, Dion. Score. V's to director's box and you're back in, mate.
Just for Dion's clarity, Andy, just tell Dion what seat you're in South so we can find you when he scores.
J26.
After you booed him.
I didn't boo him. I did not boo him. I did not boo him. Did not boo him.
Right. We'll call it there, guys. On that note, it's been we've done an hour and 43 there, although there's a lot to talk about. Guys, thank you so much for all your comments, as always, and questions. If you'd be so good as to subscribe to us on YouTube and on Spotify as well, it would help the show massively. It's free to subscribe, but it helps us out a lot. Any ideas for extra content, just let us know. If you want to be on the show, just DM us on X and we'll get you on, like Stephen Shepherd did. It'd be great to have some new faces on here, not just me talking bollocks. So it's been a good one tonight. Thank you as always to Ian Kilroy, Gas K, Andy K, and to everybody. And yeah, hopefully the next time we see you, we'll be off the back of 2 quality wins and back in those playoffs. So yeah, we'll see you soon. Take care, guys, and up the Town.